What's up, Cougar Nation? This is Tyler Batty.
Tyler Batty again.
Tyler Batty comes in the game and right off the edge, just the three-man rush.
Welcome on into the Cougar Tracks podcast. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper, for KSLSports.com. It's your favorite Cougar Tracks episode of the week. The edition with BYU football captain and star defensive end Tyler Batty. It's week 12 here on the show, and we'll revisit that Iowa State loss and look ahead to Senior Day, as Tyler will be honored during the Senior Day festivities. We'll talk about that and what's his plans moving forward in his college football and football career. So, Tyler, welcome back into the show. As always, this is your show, and so much to unpack. What a tough week last week was with Iowa State.
Yeah, it was. But happy to be here on another, I guess, Tuesday night this week.
Week 12, the weeks have just been stacking up so quick. And how's the team spirit just doing? Coming off the heels of a third straight loss, where it felt like that was maybe the get right moment at home, and it just went sideways on you guys.
Yeah, I think. It was not pretty, to say the least. I think post game and just over the weekend, as guys kind of sat with it, not a great feeling knowing 3 weeks in a row, games that just got out of hand, and definitely. Teams that we felt like we could compete with, and not only compete with but actually beat, to let those games slip, and especially this Iowa State game slip like that, and just the way the way things ended up going, guys we just weren't happy with the result. I think getting back in the facilities, these past couple days and kind of putting that away and looking forward to Oklahoma. I think overall the guys are doing well. I think that they've handled that Iowa State loss well. I think guys have taken, what they've needed to from that game. And if anything, I would say guys are more committed, even more committed to not letting that happen again. I would definitely say there's no sense of quit in this team whatsoever. I think guys are just, all right, that this has been ugly. We're sick of this. We know we can do better. This week we're going to make good on that.
What were some of the biggest causes of the struggles from your assessment and the defense, just sizing up the film, taking time to digest what transpired against Iowa State? What do you feel was the biggest causes of the headaches that you guys experienced?
I think guys just panicked, right? I think guys just hit the panic button again. We've had some really ugly starts to games this year, due to, offensive and defensive struggles and troubles. Special teams, right, involved there as well. To start another game like that, I think a lot of guys were just like, oh, crap. Like, here we go again. And so all of a sudden it was, we need to just do extra. We need to do all this other stuff. And then guys are, getting outside of their assignment, getting outside of their technique, trying to do too much. And when you do that on the football field, you end up doing a lot worse. And most of the time, again, end up hurting the team. So then guys are out of position. They're over pursuing, not making the tackles they should. And really, again, what it comes down to is just doing your job. If everyone goes out there and wins their one-on-one, their 1v1, we win. And you do that over and over and over again. And at the end of the game, you're going to be really happy with the result.
Do you think that's still enough, though, after all these struggles, that just doing the 1/11th will be enough for this group?
150%. I think we have a really good defense. I mean, if you look at the statistics, right? If you look at Texas, right? Realistically, what our defense gave up to Texas, and you look at really the details of that game, we've played them, just as good, if not better, than any other Big 12 defense has. You look at the Kansas game, right? Which the Kansas game was, again, another one of those kind of nightmarish games. You look at the statistics for our defense in that game and you're like, wait a second. It'll change your perspective on it just because you realize that, oh, wait, our defense actually played two of the best offenses in the conference really, really well. So it's not that the capability isn't there. It's just that football is 90% mental at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it is 90% mental. If you are not in the right headspace, if you are not focused on the right things, if you're not locked in on your keys, you're gonna have rough games, and that's what we've seen right late in the Texas game through the TCU game. We saw it there. We saw it late in the Texas game, and then we've seen it against West Virginia and versus Iowa State. We can be really good, and there's been flashes of it, but then we have these nightmarish games where, when you don't just do the simple things, it becomes dangerous really quick.
Have the mental miscues been the biggest cause of the struggles on third down, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. There were so many. We turn on the film right from this Iowa State game, and you look at it, and it's like, all right, we make a tackle here, we get out of that drive. We get a PBU here or an interception, which there was opportunity for. We get out of that drive. We make a tackle here in the red zone. They don't score, right? And so I think sometimes when you look at the overall, score game, it's like, all right, no, we're nowhere close. But what it really comes down to is just key plays that you have to make a tackle on, right? We had two massive runs. You know what I mean? We fit those up properly in the run. They don't go for any yards. You know what I mean? And so people are like, no, there's no way that's possible. That's all it is. That's really all it is. People know what type of defense we play. We play an aggressive defense, right? And so sometimes that puts us at a disadvantage because there's not as much flexibility, right? If we're playing man coverage, right?
Yep.
And someone, gets picked or gets blocked, all of a sudden their coverage gets out on them, and then you see, right, a 50-yard run to the house. So it's, that's really what it comes down to.
There was a crazy storyline that emerged from Saturday, and I want to get your thoughts on it and see if you experienced it. Cleats, slipping. Did you slip much?
Yeah.
And, it did seem like watching it back, seeing it live in the press box, it did seem like there was issues. But then watching the game again, there were some clear issues with slipping. What was the cause of that? Like, what was it? Just not having the cleat, the proper cleat, or what do you think was the catalyst there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you bring up a good point. I've heard a little bit of buzz just around that. I think, fans, like you said, at the game were frustrated with it. I think there was a notable difference between Iowa State and us when it came to slipping. It seemed like we were slipping a bit more. We had available to us the right equipment, right? So if guys wanted to play in studs were available. I personally had studs on. And I was still slipping. There's a few plays, that just, I just go down or, slip a little too far. And I think one had to do, I think our field, it's seen a lot of action, over the summer and, this fall we've tore it up plenty. So I think our grounds crew, they do the best they can to keep that thing as fresh as possible. Two, it was wet, right? Yeah. You had evening dew. Really, that grass was wet from the get-go. I think three, we've been playing on turf, right? So you look at the surfaces we've been playing on away. West Virginia was turf.
Texas was turf.
Texas was turf. We've been playing on a lot of turf, and so I think on the other hand, Iowa State, they've been very accustomed to play. Their home field they had the same issue. If you turn on their tape from their game, their last game before they played us, I think was versus Kansas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was the week before BYU.
you'll see them slipping on their home field as well, right? Their quarterback went down and took a sack essentially because he slipped on their 50-yard line. So I think they were, they've already played a slippery, snotty game, in preparation to come out here. I think, that probably contributed to it. Them staying up a little bit more. Overall, yeah, sometimes it's just, you just do the best you can with what you have. And yeah, we were slipping a little bit out there.
Was that I don't even know if it's a word, the slipperiest. I don't. That doesn't sound right, but
slickest.
the slickest game that you've experienced playing at BYU. I know that I'm thinking of that San Diego State game in 2020, but you didn't play in that one. That was an ice bowl.
That was icy. Yeah,
that was straight ice on the field. I don't know. Like, was there any others that compared to just how often you guys are slipping?
I would say this is probably definitely one of the. The slickest, even Sam Houston, our first game this season, I actually slipped a couple times. I was in molded cleats, not studded. And that's why the rest of the season I played in studded cleats. Even prior to this game, I played in studded cleats at all of our home games. Just because in that Sam Houston game, I slipped a few times.
Now tell listeners, because they might hear those terms molded and studded, and they've heard those terms a lot more on social media since the weekend.
Yeah.
But what's the difference? Just from the player perspective, putting those on, what's the pros, cons to either or?
Right. Absolutely. So your molded cleats are going to be lighter. First off, they're going to be lighter. The cleats we use, it's really the same. It's the same cleat, so same upper, same base plate, but on the molded ones, it's molded plastic, right? So think of plastic being in a mold coming out. The studded are different. They have screw-in replaceable studs. Like think of the cleats you probably played with in high school. Most, if you played football in high school, especially, back in the early 2000s and even before that, most of those cleats were studded, right? You've got plastic studs. You can get them 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch studs that you can screw into the cleats, and those give you better grip on grass, especially when it's wet. The molded cleats actually give you better grip on turf, better than the studs. Again, it's just the way essentially friction works, the patterns and whatnot. So studs better for grass, molded better for turf. Molded most of the time is fine on grass, right? You don't have a problem with it. It's just if it's slick grass, wet, longer grass, you want those studs.
I think I'm curious to get some clarity too, because I think a lot of fans think Kalani stands in front of all of you on the Monday meeting and says, guys, you're going to wear molded cleats, and this is it.
Yeah.
How does that work with picking the cleats, what to wear? Does the equipment staff say, hey, guys, weather's going to be, the field might be a little wet, the dew, whatever. Do they say, hey, probably should go with this? Like, how does that work? Or is it just, player's choice? You guys go with what feels right because you guys are the ones playing and you know what feels best.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think a lot of fans do have the same vision of Coach Kalani controls every minute detail of what's going on. He doesn't, just for you guys out there, within a football organization, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so that's why, for example, we have an equipment staff, right? As players, right, go through the week, scout out our opponent, or if we're playing at home, you kind of decide what you want to wear. Equipment staff has it available, but you just determine I want to wear this for X, Y, and Z reasons, right? I think most of our guys haven't had issues slipping on our home field this season. So I think a lot of them went into that game with molded cleats on. I think that was part of the problem, right? Some guys transitioned mid-game to studded cleats and felt a lot better in the second half playing on those. And then again, of course, a lot of guys this week are like, whoa, yeah, I'm definitely wearing studs for this weekend just because of those issues. So it's definitely more of a player preference. Sometimes it goes by position coaches, right? if your position coach says, hey, we're wearing studs on grass, your position group will be wearing studs on grass. So
good to know.
Yeah.
I'm glad to appreciate that insight onto that, because that was an unexpected storyline that emerged from Saturday night. It was good to see you get another sack, so congrats on that. But I'm sure that you'd like to see that number a little bit higher, and I'm sure the team as a whole would like to see that number higher. 9 sacks through 10 games. What do you think? What do you think gives there? Why are you guys not getting home enough? You guys are bringing the heat. You're bringing the blitzes.
Yeah.
Just not getting home.
It just comes back to our struggles, right?
Yeah.
Why we're not winning games is, and there's been some various reasons. I think TCU, we played the run really well, and then they were throwing a lot of quick game. We went over that. I mean, that was half a second. I mean, that sometimes that's where it might be hard to imagine getting to a quarterback that quick. But Iowa State game, was that is similar still, or what? No, we just got to stop the run.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back on it, you have to be able to dictate what an offense can do, and we weren't doing that. They were throwing anything at us, and it was working, right? So that's a big issue. When we can't knock out the run game, we have no right to rush the passer, right? And so we've got to be able to play run really well whenever they want to run the ball, right? First, second, third down. And then we have to force them into those situations where, okay, hey, it's 3rd and 10. We know unless it's 4-down territory, you're not going to run the ball, right? We want them backed up on their side of the field, 3rd and long. It's either going to be a screen or it's going to be drop back pass. And as a D-line, right, you play drop back pass until something gives you a clue that it may be screen, right? And at that point, you respond to screen. But we want to get them into that 3rd and long situation where we can just tee off on them, because then it becomes our game, and then we're dictating, right, what they're able to do. It's also, you want a team to try to play catch up, right? So we want a team to be down. That's ideal situation.
Good point.
You look at the Arkansas game. We want them to have to throw the ball to win. That's the situation we want to put them in. If we can do that, like the Arkansas game, we're going to get home. We're going to get sacks. We're going to get turnovers.
That hasn't been a luxury for you guys much this year.
No.
And so it's not a knock on the offense. It's just, it is what it is. Like, you guys have found a lot of 10-0 holes, and that's what it's been. Yeah,
that's the reality. And so, as a defense, we just have to stop the run. We stop the run. We put those offenses in a position where they have to throw the ball. And if we can do that, then we have a much better chance at seeing more production in the backfield.
Still got 2 more games to get to that 6th win and get to a bowl game. Doesn't get any easier, Tyler. Oklahoma Sooners roll into town with one of the best offenses in the Big 12 in all of college football. Your thoughts on the challenge of facing the Sooners?
I'm excited, man. For me personally, this, like you just said, the milk has been spilt, if you will, as to where we're at, right? We are 5-5. That's reality. I'm just trying to enjoy as much as I can, right? I'm just trying to enjoy, what may be my last home game at Lavelle. And so for me, it's just, I think, I'm just focused on doing everything I can to go win this game Saturday. And I think that's where our team is at as well. We have a lot of guys, where this may be their last game or is their last game that they will play in LaBelle Edwards Stadium. And so I think that's where the coaches have been as well. It's just like, hey, go make the most of this, right? We have an opportunity. Be grateful to, 1, go play football for another week. 2, be grateful for the opportunity to go play Oklahoma.
Yeah.
At BYU, at LaBelle Edwards, right?
In November,
like just be grateful. And I think, going about it that way is a lot better because it helps center you, and it helps push out some of that negativity and some of that noise of, well, we haven't done what we've wanted to. Okay. And then what? what are we going to go do? What are we going to do going forward? And so I'm really excited. I think our team's really excited. It's a great opportunity. It's a great challenge for our defense. We have another opportunity to show people what our defense actually is. You know what I mean? And how it actually can be played, and how we honestly think of ourselves and of our team. I think it's a great opportunity.
You brought up that it might be your last home game at LaVell Edwards Stadium. You are on the list of guys that's going to be honored on Senior Day. What's the plans from this point forward? Have you kind of clarified that, or where's your head at when it comes to, is this it? Because you do have another year with the COVID year.
Yeah. This is technically year 4 for me.
Yeah.
I'll be graduating in December. And so, as of right now, I plan on this being my last game at LaVell Edwards, which is, like I said, it's really bittersweet. I want to make the most of it. That being said, I am, keep my options open, right? There is another year on the table if I do want to come back and play another year. And so, I'm just trying to gauge, where I want to take things from here on out. But as of right now, I definitely plan on, this being my last game at LaVell.
Is there going to be a big family gathering then of fans for you and your family and your wife's family in support of you for this game then, knowing that this could be the last?
Yeah. I think the majority of my family and my wife's family is going to be at the game. And, like I said, I'm really, really just grateful. Before we started the season, at the end of fall camp, we had our last scrimmage in LaVell. And I just kind of sat there on the grass, afterwards, and I was just like, man, like football, college football flies by.
Yeah.
College football flies by. I feel like I was just a freshman the other day, in 2020, getting my first reps in LaVell, versus Troy. And for time to go by this fast, it's just like, wow.
It's so true, because I think back to the 2020 signing day before the world shut down a month before. And Kalani said about that 2020 class, he also brought up return missionaries, and you were just coming off a gray shirt. He's like, can't wait to see Tyler Batty. He's looking pretty good. And because I obviously
like the Kalani impression.
I obviously asked the deep cut questions. Like Kalani always dreads signing day with me because it's like, oh geez, Mitch is just gonna ask these deep cuts. I'm like, okay, Kalani, like we've talked about the signing class. Now tell me, how's winter conditioning? Who are the newcomers, the RMs, the gray shirts? How they look? And he's like, I knew you'd ask that, Mitch. Tyler Batty's looking good. Now we're here. Now this might be the end of the road.
Yeah.
A lot of emotions, crazy. I gotta imagine.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like I said, just bittersweet, man. Like I've loved playing here at BYU. I've loved the teams I've been able to be a part of and my teammates that I've played with, the coaches that I've had, the privilege of being coached by, former and current. And so, yeah, it's just 4 years. Technically 5 years. I mean, I was here 2019, not quite on the team, but I was here in the stands, on the sideline, working out. Pretty much here. I feel like I know that 2019 team really well as well. Most of them are probably like, wait a second, what? But I was in the shadows. I was hanging out. I was there. I was watching their every move, man. Trying to figure out college football. But it's been a minute. But again, just grateful.
Let me ask you this: Would you, with your next steps, if you do officially move on, again, you got options? Would it
theoretically speaking?
Yes, theoretically speaking, would it just be to move on to pursue the NFL? It wouldn't be maybe going to the portal, go to another school. Was that it? I mean, is that
no? Yeah, no.
Because we've seen that.
Right.
Your old teammate Clark Barrington did that. No knock on him. Like, I'm just saying that's the thing. You could do that theoretically with being a grad transfer.
Yeah, and we've gotten a lot of grad transfers, right? You look at Caleb Hayes, you look at Jackson Cravens.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of grad transfers in past years. For me now, it definitely would to pursue football at the next level. That would be the only draw for me. Yeah, man. I'm loyal to the core, man.
I was going to say, you seem diehard BYU. I mean, last year you could have, after all the turmoil from last season, you said last December, you're like, I'm coming back, without any question. So just had to ask that. And just to follow up, too, about, pro football aspirations, we talked a little bit about how you've heard, some things through the NFL liaison, Justin Anderson. Do you know if you've been invited yet to the Big 12 Pro Day? Because that's different this year because the league has its pro day, and BYU's not going to have its own deal. Do you know yet if you're kind of on that short list? Or?
No. I think that'll definitely be postseason, right? Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that go on, right? As soon as the season's over, before our bowl game, etc., it's kind of like, okay, that's when guys really make their decisions. Like, all right, am I going to come back? Am I going to play in our bowl game if we make a bowl game, right? Or am I just going to start my preparation for the NFL? That's when a lot of decisions happen. That's when a lot of that, I'm assuming, will happen. Again, it being kind of a first-year thing.
Yeah, so new.
For the Big 12, right? They haven't done this before. We've always had our own pro day. A lot of new things. I think, that will definitely get figured out postseason.
I got to imagine, just speaking for myself, not going to put words in your mouth, but for myself, I would think Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week in week 3. Every single week you go through all the coaches, they're all saying, got to watch for 92. I'm just saying, I think if you're listening out there, I think there's a real case that definitely Tyler Batty needs to be at Big 12 Pro Day, and I would imagine that's going to be the case. If in fact, again, you got options. We're getting cart before the horse. You got Oklahoma this weekend, but just saying that's going to be pretty exciting if that opportunity does come about. Last couple things with Oklahoma, 10 a.m. game. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's 6 a.m. wake up call. Get ready.
Super weird. We've always joked about it. Could you imagine if we kicked off at noon Eastern and then ta-da!
Yeah.
Here we are, 10 a.m. kick. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it.
Get in, get out. Let's go.
Well, and just to try something new. You know what I mean? What the heck? Why not? I've had plenty of 7 p.m., 8:15 kicks. I love those. Had plenty of noon, 2 o'clock. We've had those kicks as well. Never had a 10 a.m. kick, so I'm excited for it.
This is a weird question when you bring up 8 o'clock. Do you ever get just cold in a game, or is that's not a thing? Because last Saturday was pretty cold. And were you at all phased? Because you got the arms showing. I'm like, how's he doing? I'm freezing here.
When you're out there moving and sweating, right, it's not bad. I think anytime you get below about 30, 20 degrees, anything below that is cold. When we went to New Mexico, that game was cold. I don't remember what the on-field temperature was.
It got down in the second half. I think it got down to 28.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, whoa, this is getting cold.
That was cold. And I think just that stadium and on turf, I think grass, honestly, is probably a little warmer, I would assume. I don't know. With no sunlight, I think, turf in the sun would be hotter. But I think at nighttime, I think grass actually may, not be as cold. But, I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see BYU, you guys play on a 10 a.m. kick. First time since 2004, BYU's playing at a 10 a.m. game.
Yeah.
Last time that happened, Gary Croton was the head coach of BYU, and I was yelling at Gary Croton and the BYU team as a fan in Portal SS, where the Rock is now. That's where I was sitting in my seats. Just a little nugget there for all the listeners out there. I digress. We're getting away from things. Okay. Well, Tyler, it's been a pleasure talking. Best of luck against the Sooners. I know that you'll be prepping. One last thing. How was the No Monday? Does that put you guys behind it all a little bit, getting ready for this week?
Not really. Right. It was kind of
it's mandatory. The civic
duty. Right.
So
we couldn't have any. It was essentially a day off, but let's be honest. We're mid-season.
You went in
coming off a loss. Guys aren't just gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go do whatever. No, guys were watching film. Guys were getting their bodies right.
But they had to do it themselves.
Right. Yes. And so it was just kind of like, hey, kind of pack up this Iowa State, loss. And today we rolled in just like a normal Tuesday.
Well, best of luck, Tyler. And if this is the last home game for you, enjoy it. And hopefully it's a memorable one. It's going to be a memorable setting with it being 10 a.m. in Oklahoma. And As Kalani said, the Cougar tails should be fresh and hot. So it should be a good time. We'll enjoy it and looking forward to it on Saturday.
Thanks, Mitch.
That's Tyler Batty every single week here on the Cougar Tracks podcast. Subscribe to the show. Leave a 5-star rating. It's all powered by KSLSports.com.